Hey everyone, Progeny here. I've had a question from a user about how to run a spreadsheet on a particular folder when I have shortcuts to pedigrees in that particular folder. So that's going to be the thrust of what I'm talking about today. Just so you know, I'm on the last version of Progeny 10.6.2. I'm using the PC client. The process is very similar on the web, but if you have any problems when you do it on the web, just let me know. So if you look at this particular folder, Progeny Europe, you'll see I've got 5 folders in here, and then I've got a shortcut to one called Sarah test. So if I just go away and run a spreadsheet on this folder, and I'm just going to do a simple spreadsheet. I'm just going to do like individual name, pedigree name. I'm also going to put folder in there as well, and just a few basic fields. So I'm just going to pick out things like date of birth, first and last name. Like so. And if I run that spreadsheet, what you'll see is the information's come across as expected. Here's the individual name, pedigree name folder. But as I scroll through those particular pedigrees, you'll see that that shortcut folder isn't showing up. Well, the reason for that is that that pedigree actually exists up here in completed FHQ. So there's Sarah test. And you can imagine if I was running a spreadsheet on the whole database, I would then, if shortcuts came up as well, I'd then end up with the original pedigree and the shortcut, and potentially more than one shortcut, which would cause all sorts of data issues. So that's the reason it doesn't show up. So how could you go about making that show up? Okay, so what I've done is I've used a custom pick field, a couple of custom fields actually, for a couple of different scenarios. One is if you typically only have one shortcut to a particular pedigree. And then I've got another solution if you have several shortcuts, because it is possible a family may come in, cardiology would see them, rare diseases might see them, oncology might see them, in which case you could have multiple shortcuts. So I've covered that scenario as well. So what I've done is I've created a number of fields. The first of these is simply a drop-down menu called Shortcut Selector. And in here, I've got a few choices: Hospital 1 to 3, Progeny Europe, and Cyrillic. Now, these are going to be used for slightly different things. So if you simply have the case where you have a single shortcut, typically, what you can do is then run a spreadsheet on the whole database as follows. So let me show you this. So I go to the individual spreadsheet at the top. So you don't right click on the folder this time to do spreadsheet for this folder only. You go straight to this one here, and I didn't need 2 of those, so let me close that. So what I'm going to do is just load a format I prepared earlier. So shortcut demo, and you'll see here, I've got a number of fields in here, but also included is folder and that drop-down menu shortcut selector. And what I've done with these is I've clicked on the Add Fields to Query button, and then I've dropped them down here. So what I've said is, the query is, I want the folder to equal Progeny Europe. So any pedigrees that are in that Progeny, any individuals in a pedigree that's in that Progeny Europe folder will show up, but also anyone who has the shortcut selector equaling Hospital 1 will also show up. And you'll notice here, I should get rid of this, it's a bit untidy, it's got an OR option. So it's either this or it's this, and that should work. So if I now run this, you'll see there's Sarah test. It's in the completed FHQ. It's showing up because I've previously switched the hospital selector, shortcut selector to Hospital 1. So now we're running the spreadsheet, anything in the Progeny Europe folder and anything with Hospital 1 is showing up. So it's quite a nice, easy route if you've only got a single shortcut. The problem can then be, what if you have multiple shortcuts? So just to demonstrate this, for this particular Sarah test, I've also additionally got a shortcut to Sarah test in the Cyrillic imports folder. So that brings up another issue. So what I've done is I've created a shortcut selector table. So now I can have multiple values. And all I've done in there is simply taken that drop-down menu that I chose before and dropped it and made it as part of the table. So you can now have multiple values. So because of the way pedigree fields work at the individual level, I had to do something a little different. Now, this is possible because usually you don't have enormous number of folders. So what I've done is I've created some table summary fields for this particular table to count the number of options. So here, for example, it's counting the number of Progeny Europe ones, it's counting, it says shortcut selector equals Progeny 1 in the table. And because it's only a unitary value, you should only ever equal 1, but that doesn't matter in this case. So I've done that. You'll see I've done that for Hospital 1, Progeny Europe, and Cyrillic. So now, if I want to look at this in a different way, I can right-click on the folder pedigree, open up the data sheet, and you'll see, which I need to load up the format, that not only have I got the straight drop down, but I've also got a table. And in here is Hospital 1, Progeny Europe, and Cyrillic. So you can see I've kind of covered my bases here with those options. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to run a spreadsheet. This time I'm going to load a format, and I'm going to do shortcut to the Progeny Europe one using the table this time. So you'll see here, it's the same spreadsheet. I have the folder. Again, that's been dropped down to here. And I've also got this count of the table for Progeny Europe. And you'll see basically what I've said is any individual who's in a pedigree in a folder, in the Progeny Europe folder will show up, or anyone who's got the pedigrees table value greater than 1 or equal to 1. So that should bring up everybody. So if I run that, you'll now see that I've got the SARA test showing up, all the individuals in the Progeny Europe folder as normal. You'll also see I've added on this count Progeny Europe. It's showing it as 1, which is what we would expect. And just to show how it works the equivalent way for the Cyrillic folder, I've also got another format for a shortcut to Cyrillic. I can load it like that. You'll see again now, instead of the count Progeny Europe, I've got count Cyrillic. And if I run that, you'll see there's SARA test. It shows the original folder, but the count Cyrillic is showing as 1. And you'll also see here the other pedigree that happens to be in that folder. So you can see it's a little more complicated if you have got multiple shortcuts in different folders, but it's still quite realistic, still quite easy to do. And again, because it's using a pedigree level table and field, you only have to annotate once that particular pedigree has a shortcut. You don't have to go into each individual and do that. So it makes things a little quicker. So I hope that answers the question for the user. If anyone else has any questions regarding this or any other issues you may have with Progeny, feel free to drop me a line. I'm always happy to do these videos. Otherwise, if you'd like and subscribe, that would be great. And otherwise, I look forward to speaking to you all again soon.